countdown. And it's not working, and you guys are here watching.
We know how to roll with it. We know how to roll with it.
Isn't that really funny when you see? It's funny. The Lord's just humbling me because I make fun of people. This happens to them, and it's not smooth at all. And you're like, hey, look at them. They really need a lesson, a class or something. And then I'm like, it's not working. I mean, you guys, the Holy Spirit knows we don't need a countdown. So, hey, if you're watching, I am super excited that you guys are here. Today, we are talking about all things delegation, which we know is such an important topic in children's ministry. And I have the most amazing panel who is with us today, who I'm so honored to have. Of course, Rachel, Andre, I call them our old heads, who join us periodically to entertain us. But now we have Kathy. Kathy, I'm so excited that you are here. I've always wanted to do something. He's like the children's ministry, so I'm super excited. But as we get started, hey, you guys, I say this all the time. If there's something on your heart, you are here for a reason. There's something that is on your heart. I want you to go ahead and put it in the chat box. Don't wait, because we are watching. As we are discussing, we're gonna stop. We're gonna take those moments to look, to answer your questions. We want you to get exactly what you came here to get, and then some, based off of what the Holy Spirit wants you to get. That's what we want you to get today when it comes to delegation. I also want to give a quick shout out to my friend Tammy, who is kind of in the background, and sometimes it's hard with the engagement. She's going to do the amen, sister girlfriend, brother. She's going to be in the background doing that. So I want to give her a thank you ahead of time. So if you see a Tammy, works for Child's Heart, and she is helping us out today with the engagement. But we're going to go ahead and get started. Hey, you guys, for people who are watching today, I want you to go around and share a little bit about, just really quickly, about who you are, maybe a little bit about your children's ministry story, how you are connected in this amazing community and Kidman world. Hey, Kathy, I'm going to start with you.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm Kathy Phillips. I am the Senior Director of Next Gen Ministry at Central Presbyterian Church here in Baltimore, Maryland, where I live. I started out in children's ministry actually when I was in children's ministry. So I was one of those kids who loved going to church. I loved being with my friends and with our leaders. Our church was very much intergenerational. So I sang in the choir with the grown-ups, and kids were welcome to be part of things like that. And like I said, I loved children's ministry as an elementary age child, and knew that I wanted to grow up and provide that kind of experience for other kids. So that's when I felt the nudge to do this with my life. So that's
I love it. Okay, so I've always felt connected to Kathy because my dad is actually a retired Presbyterian minister. So I grew up in the Presbyterian church and in that denomination. And it's funny. I mean, it's funny because I've been all over the place. I've been in Pentecostal. I've been Presbyterian all the way to like Pentecostal and all these different denominations. But I've seen the Holy Spirit flow through each and every one of them, and especially in children's ministries. So I was so excited to have you here today. Kathy, Rachel, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Hi. So I was a children's pastor for about 7 years, and just absolutely love getting to work with kids. I've worked with kids forever, and kind of same. I grew up in church. I grew up like all the way through church. I went through the Awana program, absolutely loved it, and then was so excited to get involved as I got older and aged out of the program. I couldn't wait to help teach some of the classes. So even growing up, just loved getting to be a part of that and helping teach kids even how to study the Bible, even though I was a kid. So I love that kind of stuff. But then grew up and got to be a children's pastor for 7 years. And now that I'm out of that, I just love getting to partner with other children's ministry leaders and getting to help come alongside them and equip them, because I know the struggles and I know the
Mhm.
incredible opportunities that lie ahead of all of us. And so I just love getting to come alongside and help partner and equip each and every one of the ministry leaders that I get to come alongside and just help them with things like this delegating. This is so
I
important. I'm so
Rachel, I
excited about
love
this
that
topic.
because we know the struggles, right? And it's not like we're on here and saying we have all the answers. What I love about this platform is that we are here to grow together. There are some
Yep.
things that you're going to share. It's gonna tug on your heart. Please share that in the chat box. If there are things that tug on your heart, I am never surprised. My favorite part about this platform is that I grow through it, like as a leader. But I am inspired. I hear stories. I get ideas on things that I can implement to more effectively reach children and families. Not even from the people we bring on here, but from people who come on who say, hey, I've done this and this is so amazing. So absolutely, Rachel, I completely resonate with that. Andre, who are you, man?
Hi. What's up, y'all? First of all, I'm always excited to be here. I'm like you, Esther. I followed Kathy for so long, and so
Right?
it's like yo, you're here, you're there. Like now, virtual is the new in person. I met Rachel at
We're taking secret screenshots, like
right. I'm telling my wife, look who I met today. But no, man, Andre Jones, I'm the next gen pastor at One Community Church in Plano, Texas. I've been in kids ministry probably like 10 years. I love it. It's amazing. Um, I wish I had like a great story, like my family being in ministry forever and then just passing me down and singing. And I can't sing. Um, I feel like I got tricked into ministry, but I absolutely love it. It tricked me into my calling, and I would not change it for the world. So really, I mean, this topic is huge for me because I think I saw people do it well for me, which is why I believe I accepted the calling to say, hey man, let's go hard for kids, students, and young adults. And so I'm excited. Like let's have fun and drink coffee.
I know, guys. I don't have coffee today. I might have one of those days. I have Coke. I'm supported in here, but I just got a really cool Yeti. But I'm not going to waste any more of our time. So, hey, check this out. I'm super excited. Andre is here. So I got to go to Andre's church, and I got to follow him around and harass him and look at everything that he's doing on a Sunday. And I was so freaking impressed with just I, I saw the spirit. If there was a spirit in the leaders, it's not all about the one leader who is the name or who has a title, but I watched the spirit of the people who were serving and they were excited and they were energetic. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm stealing Andre every chance that I can get. And I thought to myself, oh my, and I was just on one. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, we're talking about delegation. I gotta get Andre back on here because I want him to talk to us. And what was funny is we got to actually go in service, and I got to listen to the senior pastor, and he was so passionate about the next generation and about volunteers and equipping them. And I'm like, oh man, this is just incredible. So you guys are in for a treat today. So I want to ask you guys quickly, and Kathy, we'll start with you. Rachel, you can go next, and then I'll go to Andre. But I want to ask you because sometimes we have a different definition of what delegation means. What does delegation mean to you in children's ministry? And even for you who are watching, what does delegation mean to you?
I think I would describe it as not only giving away tasks, but giving away responsibility.
Mm.
I think anybody can do a task, but giving away responsibility is something totally different. So I think
Mm.
it's empowering other people to step up to use their gifts and talents in
Mm.
ways that frees you up to be able to do what only you can do. And even not just giving them an opportunity to be able to use their gifts and talents, whether you can do it or not.
Mm.
So that's how I would describe it.
Absolutely. Rachel.
I completely agree. Absolutely. It's developing leaders by equipping and empowering people to use the gifts and talents God has given them to come alongside and be a part of fulfilling the calling that God has placed on each and every one of us.
Mm, so good. Andre.
I don't even know if there's any more man to add to that. I think we're saying the same thing, is that
Mhm.
here's what it is. It's the opportunity to allow somebody to use their gifts towards
Mhm.
God's big picture, his mission. I mean, what it's
Mm,
not is, and I probably switched that, what it's not is dumping and
right.
take this and do this without the connection and the relationship that says we're in this together, and I see something in you, and hey, you can do this, but it is happening to help you in your ministry. And so
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I probably throw the what is not and something and all that good
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh my goodness. I didn't even click on the comment box. I need to look at my comments. Oh my goodness. Yes. Delegation is giving away responsibility. Yes, yes,
Mm,
yes. Good delegation eliminates Lone Ranger ministry and effectively builds
Mm,
teamwork. I love this.
mm,
yep.
yeah,
Absolutely, 100%.
yeah.
So let me challenge you guys because we are all here about helping people. You know, for those people watching or who may watch later, who are like, I hear you. We have to empower. We have to equip when it comes to gifting. We have to pull it out to the person who's watching who may be struggling on doing that. I'm watching this and I'm struggling. I don't know how what is the first step to empower, to equip, to pull a gift out of someone and to delegate a task to them. What advice? And I Kathy, you're gonna know now. I throw curveballs while we're talking.
I
I
can
throw
roll with it. I can roll with it.
Hmm.
what for the person who's watching who said, okay, I get that. That's a great definition, but I struggle in empowering. What's the first step to empowering somebody to discovering those gifts and kind of like, I'm gonna,
I would say that it's recognizing the beauty in
mm,
doing ministry together. I think
mm,
for most of us, it's easier for us to just do it and get it done. We know kind of how we want it done and the tools that we want used and how we want things to look, what we want the outcome to look like.
mhm,
But I think that if we take a step back and realize that it's not just about us, that
yeah,
we don't want to be a one leader show.
yeah,
Um, I can talk about that a little bit later about why
yeah,
I'm saying that.
yeah,
Um, but I think it's just important to recognize that it's not all about you and
hmm,
how much your ministry will benefit from other
yeah,
insights and other gifts and talents being poured into whatever it is that you're looking to give away.
yeah. Love that, love it. So, and I get that. I love this. A lot of the things that I teach is really based off of my failures that I've done, in children's ministry. It's not because I've had it all together. I've made
Mhm.
these phone calls. I've made these mistakes. Like everything that I post, it's based off of even negative mindsets that I've had at one time. And the Holy Spirit came in and I grew in the area of children's ministry and I share that with others. But it is, I mean, I went through that stage where it's just easier to do it by myself. I
Mhm.
know I know we're supposed to use people. I know that that's important per se, but right now this needs to get done. It's easier to do it by myself. You guys speak to the fact of what are the dangers when we walk with that type of mindset. What are the dangers of not delegating?
Okay.
Rachel.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'll take it. Well, I think first of all, people that are on our team are going to end up leaving because they're going to
Mm,
feel they don't have a place. So
Yeah.
you're going to end up having more and more of a need for team members because nobody's going to feel like they get to contribute or use their gifts or their talents, and so they're going to feel like they're not a part of it. So not only that, but we end up excluding people,
mhm.
and not only that, I feel like obviously we each have our own specific gifts, but when we partner together with other people, we get the value of their added gifts and they can make up for where we're weak. So if we're trying to run it all by ourselves, all of our weaknesses are going to show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas we can staff those weaknesses with other people's gifts and talents and partner together and become so much stronger and so much better if we'll allow other people to be a part of that vision.
Mhm.
I love that. Andre, what do you think about this?
Um,
What are
man,
the dangers? Why is it so dangerous?
and you talking about like pastor, like I think reading through, Moses and just and him doing work, and then everybody knows like
Mhm.
Jethro, right? Hey man, you're gonna surely die if you do
Yeah.
this. Now I'm not saying in your ministry you're gonna die, but there's a danger there of
Maybe.
carrying all of this, right? I know, right? No, but you'll carry all of this. So
Yeah.
one side, you will not be able to fully reach your potential and your calling because you're gonna carry it all.
Hmm.
So what Rachel's saying
Hmm.
is then other people are not going to be able to fully use their gifts because you're holding it all, which ultimately is going to say that then your church is going to miss out, has the potential to miss out on their potential because we're thinking that we can do it. Another danger is that you'll be okay with what's currently achieved.
Yeah.
And if it's not big enough to where you need God and you need other people, then is it really His ministry, or is it really just your platform and your thing that you're like, I got this? And
Yeah.
that's not what we're called to do. And
Yeah.
so that's tough. And then you got to work through that. So hey, empower people, make sure it's not all about you, and you don't want to die. You don't want to be burned out and be like, I'm done in 2 months, and then your whole team's like, why we keep getting new children's pastors? Like, where does such and such go? Because people ask questions,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and then it
Yeah.
becomes the stench of the ministry, and people are like, I don't want to be part of that.
Yeah. I think, and I was reflecting on this the other day and even thinking about, man, even Jesus knew how important it was to delegate,
Yeah.
to get the message out. It started with the three. He pulled the three, and then he pulled the 12, and then
Yeah.
it was 72 to help to eat. If the word made flesh knew how important it was to share the work, to share
Mhm.
the load, how important is it for us? So super important. All right, so in your opinion, you guys, what are some reasons leaders fail to delegate?
I think a lot of it is fear
Mm,
for a lot of different things, fear of um, letting go of control, fear of it looking differently than we might have wanted it to look like, fear of someone doing it better than we might have done it.
yeah.
Um, and I think fear of bothering people too. Like, I think we recognize that a lot of our volunteers are extremely busy.
Mhm.
And so we're fearful of asking what we perceive to be as busyness in people and adding one more thing to their
Yeah.
to-do list. And maybe even with the ask, fear of being told no. So I think a
Mm,
lot of it is rooted in fear. And I think that keeps us from being able to make the asks of things and handing on that responsibility.
absolutely. I'm looking in the chat box. We've got a fear of regret.
Hmm.
A real thing that people experience. I love what Tony said. Just how careful we have to be when we are trying to do it alone. Your ministry can become personality driven, right?
Yeah,
It's based
yeah.
off of one person's personality. I love that so much, Tony. All right, so what do you guys think? Is it just fear? Is that the main root? You know?
Think that's a big part of it. I think there's also a misconception. A lot of, especially when you're new into leadership and you're just beginning to take over a role, you feel like you have to be the one that's
Yeah.
running it. And a lot of times there's that misconception that if you're passing things off or asking other people to help, that you're afraid that it's going to look like, but again, fear that it's going to look like, wow, I can't do this because I'm having to get people to help. And that's obviously that's wrong. The best leaders are the ones who are able to delegate and
Yeah.
include other people in the vision. So I think there
Yeah.
needs to be some clarification to that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Andre, you have anything to add to that? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think it's taught well in the
Hmm.
Mm,
vision. And so, take me coming out of coming out of the corporate world to now ministry. And the corporate world was, I'm a computer programmer by trade. So this is my code, this is my program, these are my accolades, this is my bonus. Then you come into ministry where it is now, okay, give ministry away to people. They're not getting paid. There's, it could be bonuses, I don't know, but you're really trying to get them on a mission. So if you don't know how to do that, then you couldn't say this is all about me.
Yeah.
If you have a leader that dumps on you, then you're going to do the same thing. That's why they say speed of the leader, speed of the team. So where did you learn it from to effectively delegate and empower people? And if you don't have it, then it's going to feel like a train wreck, and it's going to feel like that control thing, because it's not a learned thing. And it's not what the world is doing. The world is saying me, 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 me. And ministry is the one place where you get a chance to say it's all you and back off and say, great job.
Yeah.
And we're still there.
Yeah. Absolutely. So much wisdom from all of you guys. I love this. Someone says a huge one for me has been putting a burden on someone else who is already busy. And I think that that's a huge one for us. We don't want to put a burden on people. And now, even through social media, we're able to see what's going on in people's lives. Oh, Lord, her dog just died. We can't ask her, to help out with this. And we want to be sensitive to that. I'll never forget. I went through the exact same feeling, and I will never forget. It was a conference. It was a training that I had gone to, you guys. And I remember someone said to me, and I never forgot, it's through a group publishing conference. I went to Colorado, drove, and went to a whole training, on recruiting and retaining volunteers and all of that. And it wasn't one of the leaders. It's actually someone who was actually sitting at my table for lunch. And he said, one of the lessons that I've learned in children's ministry is never say no for someone else. Right. If you feel like God is calling, the Holy Spirit is leading you to that person, who are we to say no? And even then, as I progressed, and even as I began to serve, I began to experience the pain of not being asked to do things. And it was purely because people thought that I was too busy. But I felt like I was being deprived from doing what God has called me to do. But for them, they're like, oh no, she's too busy. I'm watching her. She's too busy. She can't do this. I'm not going to even ask. So I think it's important. So I completely relate to that. So good, you guys. Let me ask you a question, because I've seen some ugly things with this. Is it possible to over delegate? We're talking about delegating. It's important to give it away. We're talking about giving it away, allowing others to do things. Is it possible to over delegate? And what are some healthy practices to kind of prevent us from burning out? Because that's the reason why some of us don't even ask people. They're too busy. We don't want to burn them. We don't want to burn them out. So we don't even ask in the first place. What are some healthy practices we can do to make sure we don't over delegate? Rachel, I'm going to start with you, because all you guys said.
Yeah. Well, and because I want to address this too, because I agree, I get it. I've heard so many people say, "I just don't want to ask. I hate bothering." One of the things I hear a lot is, "Okay, I'm so sorry to ask, but would you be interested in serving?" Don't ever start by apologizing. Like, we have to change our mindset. There needs to be a shift there. This is not a burden; it's a blessing, and we have to see it that way first, before all of our team members and potential team members will see it that way. So when we get that shifted in our mind and start presenting it that way, let's change it from being a burden to a blessing. I have an opportunity for you to be blessed. Yeah. It has been such a blessing for me to be a part of this team. I would love to share that blessing with you. I don't want to rob you of your blessing by not giving you this opportunity. This is an opportunity. It's not an obligation. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to be blessed. Yeah. And so when we shift our mindset, and it begins to show to our team, and it begins to show to the parents and to all the other people that we're trying to reach to join this team, they're all going to see, wow, I'm being blessed by this. This is a blessing. I love getting to do this. And then because they're passionate about it, they're going to want to continue to serve. Now, there does come that point where, yeah, absolutely, burnout happens, even for the most passionate people, the people who love it the absolute most. And that's why I just say we have to protect their time. I completely agree. Don't ever say no to somebody, for somebody when it comes to serving. Like, don't say, I'm not going to ask them because they're too busy. Don't say no in that sense. Right. But I do think there could be a time when we could start saying no, as far as some of our team members, the most valuable ones we have usually, right, are the
Yeah.
ones who are like, I'm there every service.
Mhm.
I'm there. I'll be there all 4 this weekend. I'll still be there Wednesday. Somebody's calling in. I got it. I'll teach all 5 classes today and tomorrow and all the days. I got it. And we
Yeah.
want to just keep saying yes over and over and over because we have nobody else. We have no other options.
Yeah.
And there does come a point where at some point we have to start stepping up and protecting their time for them and saying, man, you know what? I love so much that you're willing to always jump in, but this week I need you to take a break for your mental health, for your sanity, but because you need a Sabbath. I truly believe in this, and it's important to you, and you're going to be more valuable next week when you cover all 20 classes because you rested this week. You know,
Yeah.
so we need to make that opportunity sometimes to step in and force them to take that time that they need, even if it feels like it's going to hurt us for that week. We need to be willing to step in and protect their time for them.
And Rachel, especially those people who struggle to say no. Because I love the people who struggle to say no. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes, they're usually the best.
Like, oh, I know you're gonna say yes, and I'm so much in the blind. But we don't know what they're going through at home. They could be fighting literally with their spouse. Because their spouse is like, if you leave one more time, we need to fix this, we need to work on this, but you need them, and they struggle saying no, and they say yes when they really need to be home with their family. So we need to definitely be cognizant of those people who love us and they struggle saying no and really try to protect them as well. Andre, what do you think? Chime in on this.
No, I think that's huge, and I love that Rachel, touched on that, because I think that is a shift that leaders will have to make, is saying that no for people and saying, "Hey, I need you to rest this week. I want to come in. No. I see you, and I need you to rest." And so I think that's huge. To over delegate, man, I it's like a yes and a no. It's like, can you over delegate? Yes, because I think as leaders, you've got to determine what are your core things that only you can do. And so if you said, Dre, what are the things that only I can do? I'm supposed to create the vision for the ministry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm supposed to go recruit. I'm supposed to build teams. And I'm supposed to ensure that this environment is the absolute best. That's my job. So outside of that, everything else. So what I've challenged our kids team to do, our kids leaders right against the campuses, I said, create a stop doing list. And that sounds so simple. It's like, yes, here's, write out everything that you're doing and say what you're not going to do, but ensure that it's not one of the core things. So I can't just say, hey, volunteer, create the vision for the ministry. I got that. You can't say, hey, you go recruit all the volunteers by yourself. No, I've got to model it and say, here's 5 people that I met. Let's go do this. The environment has got to have fresh eyes. So what are the things that only you can do? Do those.
Yeah.
And empower people to lead and do the things, but then also know what your strengths and weaknesses are, right?
Yeah.
So don't delegate a strength, like delegate a weakness, and be okay with calling it a weakness. I think we don't like weaknesses, and we're like, I don't want to call it a weakness. We got weaknesses. I stink. I almost said the other one. I stink at admin. That's not my gift. My team knows it. So I have an amazing admin who helps me. She's like, you have to be on a call at 7:00. I said, thank you, because I was about to go to another meeting.
I love it. It's so important. Did you watch our webinar? You need to go back and watch on how administration matters is changing.
It's a beautiful thing.
She's like, no, I'm good. I'm good with that task, so I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Kathy, what do you think? Can we over delegate? What do you chime in on this?
Yeah, I agree with what's been said already. And I think that one of the beautiful things about delegating in a healthy way is that we see the next layer of leadership be developed. So if, like I mentioned before, there's a difference in delegating tasks versus delegating responsibility. And I think when you lean to the delegating responsibility side, I think you begin to model what good leadership looks like. So you give an opportunity to someone to take an area of responsibility, and you teach them then how to come up with a list of what needs to be done and who needs to be on the team and what things need to be done. And then they can bring others around them to be able to help them do what you ask them to do. So I think it's
Mhm.
a domino effect of how to do things in a healthy way,
Yeah.
because you won't always be in your sphere of influence. So
Mhm.
if you get sick or God calls you someplace else,
Mhm.
you want to have good practices in place for when that time comes so
Mhm.
that the ministry continues on in your absence.
Absolutely. I love that. 100%, Kathy. So, Kathy, I was reading the chat box. I love this. Tony says, I think that leaders should not just delegate things that they don't want to do, as if those things are beneath them. And it's so
Right.
funny that she says this because one of the reasons that I wanted to kind of talk about this question, because I've seen that. I mean, I've seen absolute screaming and yelling in a church office because someone is so upset because they feel like someone has over delegated something to them just because it was stuff that they didn't want to do. They didn't feel, and I'm talking about yelling, cussing, all of that. And I'm like, what is going on? People are crying. We're doing devotionals on unity in the staff meeting. And it's all because of dumping, right? We said, Andre, you said dumping things on people. And it's definitely something that we don't want to do. So I love that. I love this. Also, in the chat box, we serve the children. It is an opportunity, never a burden. I will share this. I love that. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I hate it. It gets to me. Just Esmeralda, maybe, but it gets to me when we act like children's ministry is this pathetic babysitting club.
Mhm.
That we need to. People need to see beyond themselves and come and serve because the children need to be ministered to. No, it is, Rachel, what you said, it is an honor to serve children. God has gifted people with gifts and talents and anointings to serve in your children's ministry. We really got to start seeing it that way. I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm staying connected with what you guys are writing in the chat box. As a reminder, if something's on your heart, if you are struggling with anything, I want you to put that in the chat box. I want to talk about the framework though, you guys. All right. What type of framework do you use to make sure you're delegating the right task, right, to the right person?
Mhm.
Because it can be dangerous and we know, right? That's part of our fear. Maybe that's part of why we don't delegate. We've had a horrible experience. We've delegated a task to the wrong person who just completely screwed us over. And now we are afraid to delegate anything else because we have this distorted mindset that it's just easier to do it by ourselves. What type of framework do you use to make sure you are delegating to the right person? Kathy, I'm gonna let you start this. Kick this one off.
Well, this one is a little tricky because I think many of us have had that experience where we
Mhm.
have handed off something to someone and it's been, a disaster. It's been a disaster, and you're like, oh. Um, so I think, in those times you learn those lessons, and
Mhm.
um, you try to not hold on to it, even though you give it away. You want to
Mhm.
give it away. But you want to come alongside the person that you have asked to do whatever it is you ask them to do. And to make a good ask means that you have to know what they're good at. So that means that you likely have spent some time with them, building
Mhm.
a relationship with them. I think Andre mentioned that earlier. It's about relationships. You build relationships with people and you get to know them, you get to hear their heart, you get to know and see what they're good at, and then you can make the asks. So
Mhm.
I think if you, like me, I have in the past taken down entire web pages when I've tried to go in and make changes myself. And so I've learned that lesson once and never did that again. So I have a wonderful person on my team who handles all of that because that is not my strong suit.
What's wrong with this webpage?
It's just not my thing, but it's hers, and she does a beautiful job with that. So it's knowing that that's her thing. She loves to do it.
Yeah.
She likes to be asked to do things, and she sees what value she brings to the team. So she might not be out front on stage talking to parents as much, but her piece is important. So knowing who to ask, knowing what to ask based on what you know
Yeah.
about them, what you've observed in them, possibly even pairing them up with someone else so that they can, work together and
Yeah.
get to know people as well. And one of the cool opportunities about delegating is that you have an opportunity to be able to share more about what your vision for the ministry, and they get to hear your heart. So there's some relationship pieces built into it as well. So
Okay,
that's
so
definitely part of the process.
Kathy, I love that. I love how you talked about the relationship pieces. So, Andre and Rachel, curveball moment. Okay, so I'm gonna throw a curveball at you guys. So, for the people who are watching, who are like, yeah, I get it. Build relationships. We all know that's important. For the people who are watching who are like, I don't have time to build relationships. You guys don't understand. I am chained to this children's ministry area, and it sounds nice to build relationships. What would you say to that person who's watching or who may watch it later, who's like, that sounds like a dream, but you don't understand what I go through. I can't build relationships. What would you say? Sorry, curveball, go.
Okay, I'll start.
I'm
So
thinking, I'm gonna let Rachel start.
Rachel, she started with the laugh, so that was a perfect segue to her going. I was like, yeah, Rachel's got it. And I was gonna take my notes and then say yes, what Rachel said.
Go for it, Rachel.
Well, first of all, if these are people that we're serving alongside, what better opportunity to build a relationship with them than to just take some of those moments and just get to know them? For the people who are serving in the nursery, so many of my team members I know just built those relationships over serving together. Getting to talk during some of those down moments. They come in early, they stay late, so they're talking, they're building relationships, and then we're busy, but we have to make it a priority. It has to be important that we are very intentional about carving out time to build these relationships. So yes, we're all busy, but that's where delegation comes in, right? There's got to be some things we can delegate so that this can become more important, so that we can be intentional about making this a priority and setting time aside to build teams. So maybe that means setting one Friday night every other month that you have a bowling night or some sort of activity night to get to know the people. But then during the week, just being intentional about little things like sending a text message. Hey, I remember you said your kid has a game tonight. Just letting you know, we're praying for you and rooting for you. It's going to be great. Let me know how it goes. Or, hey, how'd the band concert go? If you could be at the band concert, even better. Right.
Yeah.
But even when you can't, just little things like sending a text, letting them know that you're thinking about them and you care. Those little things make a big difference.
I completely agree, Rachel. I think when I get those little things, I those little things, they mean so much to me. I'm going to speak to this. I want you to speak to this because I've seen your post, man. I know that you are putting in the work to build those relationships, and I know that it's work. I know that there are Sundays where you are exhausted. I know that from being a children's pastor.
Right.
You're exhausted. You want to go home, but I see you posting those photos of you building these relationships and building these authentic friendships with the people who serve alongside you. Speak to the person who's like, I can't.
Dude, I was there when I first started ministry. Ministry was like in a box for me, so it was like, hey, here's I work, and then I go home. And that's it. I don't want to spend no time with you. I don't want to do that. I'm trying to make sure my marriage is good. I'm trying to make sure my kids are good. I'm trying to pay bills, all that stuff. And people don't want that. And I didn't want that. And so it wasn't really until I started spending intentional time with people. And some of it is is you got to be an expert at time management, not expert, but you got to be on your way. Which
Yeah.
says people are like, oh my gosh, how do you spend time with people? Well, I have regular rhythms where I spend time with people.
Yeah.
So I have meetings, and those meetings sometimes are fun, and we get to the, you got to know who's on there. I have, and
Mhm.
Zoom has been great because you can do some Zoom fun, crazy things.
Mhm.
People like to eat, and I love food, and so getting people around food is fun
Yeah.
because they're like, and then it takes the walls down, and then
Yeah.
not feeling like a job, but it feels like a family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, what can people do? Simple things. So you can do a quick little huddle and just laugh, tell a story. Stories are what I think draw people in now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you create that moment where, hey, we're just going to pray for somebody, or you create that moment where you celebrate somebody, it was gets
Yeah.
celebrated, gets repeated. When you create the moment where you just bring a small group together and say, hey, let's just hang out, and they're like, why? I just want to chill. So coffee,
Yeah.
text messages, cards, all those things are huge, and it has to be authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get something from you, but I'm truly trying to pour into you into your currency.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Meaning, some people want time. So let's spend some time together. Some people want flexibility. Cool, do whatever you want to do. I'm cool as long as we can check in. Some people want the affirmation, but that takes spending time with people to know that. So then they feel
Right.
like they're a part of something. Then that relationship is there. Like, oh my gosh, he noticed, or they saw it, or he gave me time off. And that is a learned thing. And trust me, I mean, everybody on here except for Kathy, we she's superstar, rock star. She's got it. I've done this poorly so many times, to where there was a lady who, man, she's killing it. She was our elementary director one time, killing it.
Mhm.
And one day she came up to me and she was like, hey, am I doing a bad job? I'm like, what you mean? And she's like, you don't say anything to me.
Mm.
And
Wow.
I don't know if I'm doing well. And I'm like, me not saying anything is a relief because I've delegated, I've empowered you, and I'm good. But I didn't know that her currency was words of affirmation.
Mm.
All she needed to know is you're doing great. And I didn't spend the time outside of the church just to even get a chance to know that. We didn't have
Mm.
one-on-ones. We're hanging out at the house. We weren't doing huddles and all this stuff. It was just boom, 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 work.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of failures, a lot of bumps, but I can truly say now, man, I love my team. There's not a Sunday that I come and serve or a Saturday that I come and serve where I'm like, this is horrible. Like, I see my people, they're great. Heck, I had the weekend off and they kicked me out of church. What kind of ministry does that? They kicked me out.
we have Andre, we have a recommendation that you need to write a book about love languages of children's ministry volunteers. Tony, I'll get him on that project.
Can I do that? Don't I have to like talk
I
to
mean, if
Gary?
you wrote it, I would read it. I would
I
read that.
really
I would read
do.
it. Mm-hmm.
Tony would absolutely 100% read it. I love this. It says you have no choice but to make relationships. I love that. That is a
Yeah.
part of your job. You have no choice but to make relationships, even if it's as simple as a phone call or email. It doesn't have to be a long time. It has to be a priority. I'm reading this chat box, you guys. I love it. I love it. We are growing together. Yes, Tony, you have heard it here first. Andre needs to work on his newest book, Love Language. You have to send this to Tony. I mean, if you do your first book, like, but it is. We take people.
Let's get it.
It is so easy to take people for granted and to not say anything. And you're not doing it on purpose, but it's so important to be intentional. I love everything and all the wisdom you guys are pouring out. I would tell you, for me, it was even when you said stories, Andre, that really hit me. It was when I actually got to sit down, even with our children's pastor, and talk about stories and share our life experiences and what we've been through. I mean, it's like the relationship came more alive. It wasn't so stoic. It was like, man, we are all people trying to make it through this thing called life,
Yeah.
and it became a friendship. So it's so important that we build relationships and not take the people who are laboring alongside us for granted, because as Rachel mentioned, of course, they gonna leave.
Right.
It happens. They quality, good people will lead. So I want to ask you guys, we're talking about relationships. How can we keep a pulse on what's going on in people's personal lives? And I mean, I'm talking about how can we keep a pulse on it? How can we, keep a pulse on their ministry aspirations? What is ministry aspirations? The things that they're passionate about doing in the ministry, and other developments that are going on in the lives of the people who are around us. How can we do that effectively? Because that's an important part of ministry. We don't want to call somebody, right, who they fish just died. I'm sure it's something more serious, but something happened, and they're like, "How dare? Why you calling me? Are you not on social media? I am grieving right now. How you gonna ask me?" And then we lose somebody because we're being insensitive. That means we have to keep a pulse. How can we do that in a healthy way, Kathy?
I think when you ask someone, how are you? I
Mm-hmm.
think, don't be in a rush expecting them to just say fine or I'm good. Like when you ask
Yep.
the question, be ready to listen well. Listen
Well.
for actually what they say and what they don't say.
Mm,
So, if you ask someone, how are you? And they say fine, you might be able to look at them and see that they're not.
yeah.
And then you can, ask another question that might dig a little bit deeper with that. So when you ask the question on how they are, be ready to listen and not just like, okay, like I'm expecting fine or good and then walk away. So be prepared
Yeah.
to listen. But I think if you're also connected with people that you serve with
Mm,
on social media and you see things that they're posting, engage with them about what they're saying. If you have a parent who serves who's really struggling with their kid, or they just had a bad day, type in something to them and let them know that you see them, and
mm,
maybe share that something relatable to them, or just let them know that they're seen.
yeah.
So don't just scroll past,
Yeah.
take the time to actually just acknowledge that you've seen them, and then follow up about it,
Yeah.
whether it's something
Mm,
serious or something funny, you
yeah.
know. Yeah, so just show up, and be ready to listen and just be aware, like I said, of what's said and what's not said.
I love that, Kathy. Acknowledge that you see them. People
Hmm.
want to be seen. And it's so easy to say, or even Kathy, you're saying, even if we're sharing a story, we're thinking something funny, or we want to be relatable. It's so easy for the distractions of life to get in the way. And we
Yeah,
even when we're scrolling, like, oh, okay, maybe I'll share that with them later, and completely miss an amazing moment that would have
yeah,
meant the world to somebody
right,
and just
right.
completely open somebody up. So yes, Rachel,
And
Andre,
if you have one more quick thing, like
yeah,
some of
absolutely,
the families in our church that where they might not even serve with us, but they share stories that their kids do throughout the week that are just hilarious. And just being able to share in the laughter with them, because you don't have to be serious all the time. Like you can
yeah,
laugh at something, that
yeah,
somebody's child said or did, appropriately. But
yeah,
I mean, if it's legitimately funny, like you can laugh at that and you
yeah,
can say, something like that's my boy or that's my girl, and just, keep it lighthearted too. So it doesn't always have to be so serious all the time. They can see you in a lighter way, to be
yeah,
able
yeah,
to see that you like to laugh and you find things funny too, just that you're relatable. So
yeah.
don't be afraid to do that as well.
And Kathy, make room for people. I'm telling you, come on, we all have people. Maybe it's just me who if you sit and you say something to them, they're gonna try to talk to you for 20 hours.
Right, right,
Oh my gosh, I don't have time
right,
for this.
right.
That was a conviction on me. The other day,
Mhm.
I remember talking to my husband. I was like, we gotta make time for this person. What's your schedule look like? Like, what are we gonna do to reach out to this person? Because we know we're gonna have to take some time.
Right,
How
right,
can we love on them? Like they
right.
matter too.
Mhm.
It's not in there to where literally I've hid. All right, I gotta hide. I see somebody tell me she's gonna take all my time, and I was like, wrong. But
Yeah,
they need to be loved on and ministered to. So I have to. We might have to be a little more strategic with them. But I want to challenge you, if you have somebody like that, to make time for them as well. You guys chime in on this. How do we keep a pulse on this, on our people, and what's going on with them?
Yeah, I think in a couple ways. One is, I mean, automate it, and it sounds like a cheat code to it, but you'd be surprised during the pandemic sending out an email to our team and to say, "Hey, here's some information," and then putting a little blurb that says, "If there's anything that I can pray for you about, let me know."
Yeah.
And then the responses to that, "Hey, just need you to know this," is, "Oh my gosh!" And but like Kathy said, it's like there's listening, but then mean it too. So if I respond to you and I send something, you best respond back or call me or something.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there's an automated side of it, right? I think the digital side of it is huge. I mean, friend your volunteers. Maybe not all of them, but some of them. So that you can see what's going on in life. Don't friend the person that's going to be like, "Hey, I saw everything that you did in your life. Your dog is so cute. Oh my gosh, you did all that." I'm like, "You're getting blocked." Do that, but then also for the person that's thinking about this, like, "Oh my gosh, this sounds like a whole lot of work." Maybe get a champion. We're talking about delegate. Get a care champion, right? We've got a lady on our team who loves to care for people, and we make it known to the teams when we get our huddles. "Hey guys, if there's ever anything that you've got, man, let Sherry know." And she'll go. We get on our calls. "Hey guys, if there's anything, man, let Sherry know." So that if they don't feel maybe comfortable coming to you and you see busy, they can go to her, and the team knows to go to her. And then what does she do? She comes back to me and she says, "Hey, I need you to know that such and such is hurting, such and such happened, blah blah." I can call them, text them, "Hey, here's what I heard. Are you okay?"
Yeah.
So it's not so much work on me, but there's somebody who loves this and is passionate about it and will go. I mean, like, she will cook stuff for them. She will mail stuff to them. She will email stuff to them.
Yeah.
Let her live in her lane.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. Rachel, what do you think? How can we keep on the pulse of what's going on with our people?
Well, I think that's incredible what you just said about care champions. I think that's such a huge part is letting other people be a part of this, just like what we're talking about with delegating. Even this part, you can't delegate the relationships, but we can allow other leaders to come alongside us. So something that's worked well for me is having team leaders over different aspects of the ministry. So within the nursery, there's different team leaders, and the first through third grade has its own set of leaders. Even the food team, the check-in team, they have their own individual team leader that manages much smaller size teams. Because when you have a team that grows to 120, 150 people, then suddenly you can't know what's going on in every single team member's life. But if you have team leaders over much smaller teams, they can keep a pulse with their team. So then every week I'm just checking up with 12 team leaders saying, "Hey, how's everyone on your team doing?" And then before long, they're trained now that they're coming to me. I don't even have to check in anymore because now they're coming to me. "Hey, did you hear?" I mean, there was one instance we had somebody on our team, family member of theirs had passed away. And I think within 5 minutes, I had 10 different people texting me, "Did you see? Did you see? Did you see? Did you see?" So then I'm able to reach out and be like, "Hey, I'm so sorry to hear about this." But all of them genuinely cared, but they also had a pulse. So even though if it's something that I haven't seen, someone else has seen it and can alert me. And then they're coming to me, "Hey, we've already got a meal train together. We've got this done and this done, but we need you to know so you can also reach out to them." So kind of the care champion thing too, just letting them be a part of this because these people will care too. And that's going to create a community where everybody can feel like they belong and they're all contributing. And it kind of adds to that family feel of the ministry.
Absolutely.
Nobody wants to be invisible. It's important to remember that when people join our team, they don't want to be invisible. They want to be seen. And I think it's important for us to see them.
So important. Nobody wants to be invisible. Okay, so we have a question. At what leader size do you feel it's beneficial to have team leaders?
That's good. I say it's an opportunity to delegate responsibility at any size. Right. So at any point that you have multiple opportunities, like I said, I put team leaders over everything. So even if it was just a food team of 6 people, they got a team leader. So it's just more opportunity for people to buy in and be a part of the vision and to use their gifts and their talents.
And then,
Absolutely.
Rachel, to that is, You're not building your team for where you are. You're building your team for where you want it to be. So I don't care if you just started your ministry and you got 5 kids in there. Well, you're asking God, like, would you just double it? So what does that look like for 10 kids? I need 10 volunteers. Okay, boom. I'm gonna split it. Team leader for 5, now you got 2. You got multiple campers, whatever it is. So I mean, fill that org chart out and put all those blanks in there and be sad. Like I've been sad multiple times and like, oh Lord, I hope. But then when you have those conversations, you talk to somebody and you're like, hey man, well, you're gonna get a question. Somebody's gonna say, what do you want me to do? I'll do anything. And the worst thing we can say is like, I don't know. I just want you to serve. Well, here's this org chart, and it's like, hey, here's what I've been praying about, and here's where I'm asking, and I wonder if this is you. And there may not be a team, but they started there, and now they can help build a team, and you don't have to do all the work there.
That's so good.
Andre, I love how you said be sad, how I've been sad. Like, this is work. Like, this is work. It takes faith. There are times, it's funny because I offend people all the time on social media, and with the posts that I put, and some people really go in, and sometimes I read the responses, and you see the hurt and the bitterness. You can tell when someone responds in a certain way that they have been hurt and they've lost faith in God and what He can do in children's ministry. And I'm like, do not be fooled and deceived by the enemy. God cares about His babies. He cares, about the little lambs. As we walk in faith, He will go before. The Holy Spirit will go before us and do the building as we believe Him and as we put in the work. Faith is dead without work, but we have to believe Him for that. So I love this. I don't let you guys go without you telling me I thrive off of your failures, without you telling me like a delegation disaster that you have experienced. Kathy, I want to tell me about some type of delegation disaster that you have experienced in the ministry. And what you've learned from it.
I'm trying to think of which one I can share because I don't know who's watching. Okay. This is a safe one to share. This is safe. My very first VBS that we hosted many years ago at another church. I had asked someone to be the point person for our VBS. This person was recommended to me by my supervisor at the time. I was fairly new, didn't know this person as well. The short of it is, details were just dropped, things were just not organized. And I was told when I gave this responsibility away that I didn't even have to check in on this person. Just give it to them and you just stay over here. So I'm like, okay, well, I can do that. Wrong. Never again. Never again. Never again. For me
I will never stay over here.
Yeah. So never again. And then after this event happened, in a meeting, it was, well, that was a disaster. And I'm like, yeah. So that was the only time that happened like that. So that's what I'll say on that. So check in when you delegate, you just want to check in with people and, ask some good questions and see how you can help them. Because I think some people think that they can do a big task like VBS. And granted, it wasn't a large VBS, but still, lots of details with VBS. So no, I wouldn't do that. Wouldn't do that again. Yeah.
Kathy, I'm laughing at you because the exact same thing happened to me. And they were like, no, this person has it. But
right.
This person, they didn't tell me, okay, this person had went out for my exact same position, okay? And they didn't do it. So they after me. I mean, I'm telling you, they blocked my phone number. It was crazy. And I'm like, what's happening?
Right, right.
Yeah, so that was definitely, I definitely learned from that to ask a question and still stay connected, even when people
Right,
tell you,
right,
no,
right.
it's fine, they have it. And you don't
Yeah.
want to micromanage, but you definitely want to communicate and make sure that you are in the flow of what's going on and what's
Yeah,
happening.
absolutely.
First BBS, first ministry position, and I was like, man, this is a learning experience for me. Rachel,
Yes.
tell us of a delegation disaster, what you learned from it.
Okay, I was still new, like within my first year at the church, and decided, okay, it's time to go through and clean out all these closets, all these classrooms. Let's do a deep clean. Let's organize. We had this one big closet that was such a disaster. You could hardly even walk in it. You open the door, and it's just a wall of just horrible. So this guy jumps up and he's like, I would love to do this. Sign me up. I want to take care of this. And I was like, okay, great, fabulous. And he comes up during the week and he empties this entire closet. He was like probably a early 20s, okay? So just still kind of young guy. Just comes up, he just empties the whole thing, goes through it, gets real excited about it, and then he decides he's done. He's like, oh, you know what? I'm bored with this. He throws it all back in. And he's just done. I'm like, this is worse than it started. What are you doing? He was so excited to help, though. And he goes, "Yeah, I think I'm done. I think I'm good." It like is out. I'm like, okay, awesome, great. Like you weren't there for like 5 hours. What did you do? Like,
What did you learn from this experience?
match the task to the talent. He had no organizational talent. Take the time to get to know your people, find out what their talents are, find out what they're good at. He turned out to be an incredible leader for the boys.
Yeah.
Turned out great, right? Incredible leader. But with assistance from somebody else who could be in there with him and kind of rein it in, because he has an incredible personality, super outgoing, super fun, but it did not have the I need to focus mentality. So pair them with somebody else and then find somebody who's gifted in organization to organize closets. So make sure that's something they can do. but yeah, don't just throw anybody who's willing into a situation.
Andre, tell me one of your disasters.
Oh, one of many. I'm actually on looking the chat here because Tony's clear job descriptions is probably a mistake that I made. So on one side of it, there's leading people who are probably smarter than you and better leaders than you, and wasting their time because you don't know what in the world you want to do. And so I had a leader who was like, fired up. Let me know what you want to do. Okay, cool, man. I'm thinking about it. All right. Let me know what you want to do. Okay. I'll give you a little bit of it. Okay. Dude, what do you want me to do? And so there's the lack of delegation because I didn't know what to do. And I'm probably intimidated by that leader because they're like 10 times better than me. They're like leading a whole company or something. I got a little kids ministry over here. And so what I learned from that was like, hey, one, get your stuff together because if you're gonna have people that are everybody's time is valuable, but you got some people who volunteer and they've got this slot of time. I'm gonna give you everything I've got for this hour and a half. Do not waste my time. I wasted their time because I wasn't prepared. On the flip side, then you've got people who are like super ambitious and I want to do everything, and you delegate to them and you just say take free reign. And I wish there was just a closet that they messed up, but they had this person had done everything in this ministry, and then they're like, oh, this is bad. Because once again, I didn't give clarity, and here's what it looks like to win, and here's our check-ins and all that. So then you got to go in and you hurt the person's feelings because you're like, hey, such and such is going to help you. Well, why are they helping? Oh, I think we need some help. Are you firing me? Fire is a bad, yes. And so, one side is you're not prepared because you got somebody who's valued the time. Other side is you're not prepared and you just dump it on somebody and say, hey, go run with it. And then you have to come back and clean it all up. And so both of those are not fun. Not fun.
Yeah. And definitely, I so agree. Respect people's time. Clarify what you want people to do. I'm so big on that. I'm like a time snob because I'm so busy all the time. But I love serving. But I'm like, oh, when I serve, value my time. Come on, tell me what you want me to do. So super on that. I love this. I am reading the box to match the task to the talent. Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. You guys, before we get out of here, encourage us for the people who are watching, the people who will watch later, some last minute encouragement that you have when it comes to delegating. Maybe it's for that person who's like, I hear you, but I am struggling giving it away. You don't understand the people I have, the people who's watching, who's they just need encouragement. I saw someone put a prayer, for Jamie, help her in the ministry, help her to delegate, bring people to her, leave us with some last minute encouragement. Rachel, you start. Andre, you go second, and then Kathy, I want you to close us out.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. I think everything that we've touched on tonight has been so valuable. Especially just you're not meant to do this alone. We're stronger together. We all have gifts that can work so perfectly together if we will let people do that. So just remembering that this is a blessing. It's not a burden. It's a blessing. And other people are a really, really important piece of this puzzle. And just like, yeah, I mean, there's no puzzle. I hate trying to sit down and work a puzzle when you're missing some of the pieces, right? Like you just can't complete it. It's not all there. And when we're missing other pieces, those people who can be pieces in this puzzle, this much bigger puzzle, we make a complete picture, but we have to allow other people to fit into that picture with us. It's so important. Don't ever think that you're the only piece. You can't do it on your own. You're not meant to do it on your own. This isn't your ministry, it's God's. He's allowing you to be a part of it, and you should allow other people as well to be a part of that ministry.
Rachel, I love that. And I love this message that you're giving of understanding how much of a blessing that this is. And if you're watching, or maybe it is possible to be leading children's ministry and you to be thinking, the leader to be thinking that this is a burden. That is 100% possible. And if you are going through that and you are struggling asking people to help because you believe it's a burden and you believe asking people, you are putting a burden on other people, I'm going to ask you to boldly talk to God. Ask Him to cultivate a heart within you for the ministry that you are doing, to show you how much of a blessing this is, so that you as the leader can show others and can approach others in a way to where you are inviting people in to an incredible ministry opportunity. When I was brought in, I never thought I was serving Awanas ever. I'm busy in the evenings. No, the answer is no. I never thought I would do that. You know what my friend did? She invited me to an opportunity. I want to invite you to an opportunity to bless you, something that will bless you. And it did bless me. I wrote about it in my books. What we do is a blessing. No one wants to join a sinking ship. And maybe God has to do something in your heart. So I love that. I love that, Rachel. Andre, give us some encouragement.
I'm gonna piggyback off of Rachel's a little bit. And when you say a solo, here's the thing: you're not alone.
Yeah.
And so when I say that you're not alone as you're processing, delegating, you're processing your ministry, there are entire companies who are having to redesign and rediscover their model. If you read about it, you Google it, the great resignation is happening, right? So people are leaving their jobs. So it's not just you. It's not just you when you're trying to find volunteers. It's not just you when you're trying to empower people. It's not just you when you're trying to raise up people. So understand you're not alone in this. So then what do you do with this? I think there's a self-reflection and ask yourself, man, am I enjoying what I'm doing? I'm not saying quit, but I'm saying, am I enjoying what I'm doing? And because people are drawn to that. Nobody wants to just check in and check out. They want to be a part of something great. So we ask this question of, are we having fun yet? Are you having fun? And so if you're going to empower people, bring them something great. Are they having fun? Are you enjoying it? Are you passionate about it? And so before you can even start delegating, it's got to start with you. Because otherwise you're just going to say, hey, just come do this. It's just nothing.
Yeah.
And what we're a part of is too great to half do it and to not have that passion, to not be all in on it. So, hey man, you're not alone. And let's have some fun. And I said, pray
Yeah.
and just pray that God would help you first, and then ask for what it might be that you need.
Yeah. 100%. It sounds so simple to say pray, but it is one of the most vital components, I believe, of what we do. It's so easy to do ministry and to
Mhm.
leave God out of it. I know because
Mhm.
I've done it before. You're doing hustle and bustle of ministry. You're trying to make sure programming is together. You're trying to make sure all these people are happy. You're trying to make sure that the senior pastor is okay with what you're doing and that they understand. And we lose sight of the Holy Spirit and praying and inviting Him to come in and be a part of this, to be to work in our hearts. It's only through that, and I say this all the time, you guys, and it sounds so cliche, but I say it because I would lose sight of it. There were times where I wasn't spending time with God anymore. My devotional time with God was through the Sunday school curriculum. All right,
Mhm.
let me review this real quick because I have so much to do, and oh, that's so true. I went through that. I went through that in seminary too. It's so easy to lose sight of the very real God that we serve, and that it's not our ministry, but it's His ministry, and He wants to be a part of that. Kathy, share with us some encouragement for those when it comes to delegation.
Well, I'm feeling a nudge towards those who serve in smaller church settings.
Mm,
I just want to encourage you that delegating is not limited to larger churches.
yeah.
Um, Even in a smaller church setting, delegation is still very important.
Mm,
There is someone who is waiting to be asked to do something bigger than what they're already doing. And you don't need to wait until you are at a certain number wise with kids, or until you hit a certain number of volunteers, or until you have all of the right things in place to then invite people to do it. So if you are in a smaller church setting,
I love it.
delegation is still very important,
Mhm,
and continue to dream bigger to where you would like your ministry to go. I think that
mhm,
was also mentioned earlier. Um, but someone is waiting to be asked and called to something
mhm.
bigger. So give them an opportunity to do that right now.
I love that, Kathy. I think Kathy closes out perfectly. Someone is waiting to be as they are. I think of Moses, you guys, and how he was the leader, but God put a gifting in Bezalel, and I may be saying his name wrong. I'm sorry, I'm not a theologian, but he put a gifting in other people to go and to do the work and to do. And can you imagine Moses saying, no, I'm the leader. I got this. I can do it. And how depleting that would have been for someone who God has put the gifting in them. And I think that we lose faith that those people are there,
Yeah.
but they're there. It is a part of God's design. Don't say no for others. Lean into God. Spend time with Him. Him, ask the Holy Spirit, who are you telling me to approach? Who am I to build relationships with? Who have you called to be this ministry? Build relationships with them. Build relationships with people who have nothing to do with your ministry area, and they will surprise you how God will use them to be a
Mhm.
blessing to you and even the ministry as well. You guys, we have had an amazing evening. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Hey, if you know someone who could benefit from this and they are not a part of the children's ministry moving forward, Facebook group page, tell them about them, tell them to become a member. I'll make sure they're not a riffraff, and I will make sure that I invite them on here so that they can be a part and get all this wisdom. We don't charge for this wisdom. We are here and we are growing together. I was asked that. Oh, wow. So thank you guys for being with us tonight, and we will see you. We have a special next month with Jim Whiteman. He is going to come on. We're going to close out the Christmas season to talk about leaders versus managers. Who has been a manager before because you lack the ability to actually lead? I don't know about you. I've been there before. Jim is going to close us out and talk to us about that so that we can start 2022. I can't believe it's 2022. I keep thinking it's going to be 2021 because I felt like we missed a year with the pandemic. I'm still trying to catch up. I'm trying to catch my kids up from what they missed out during the pandemic because I'm one of them parents. But he's going to be here to get us ready so that we can start 2022 super strong. Oh my goodness. Rachel, Andre, Kathy, thank you so much for being with us tonight. What an incredible blessing. And we will see you guys again next week. See you later.